A little lighter fare. Joining us from Union Station, which is just across the street from C-SPAN offices, is Thane Fake. He's the store manager for Political Americana. Thanks very much for being with us.
Good morning.
Good morning. Tell us how the impeachment trial has affected the Political Americana business.
Well, it's been pretty good for us. It's been excellent in terms of we've sold a lot of the Star Report on toilet paper, and even the Russians are getting involved in the free market economy by producing these wonderful dolls you see in front of you. They're all handcrafted. We have all of the president's inquisitors, and we have all of the president's dolls, so to speak.
Well, explain a little bit about how they're called nesting dolls. How do they go together?
They basically, each one opens up, and you have another one inside. And so you basically undo them like this.
And this is something that comes from the Russians, this idea of the nesting dolls, but here in your store it's taken a little bit different tack. Who, in that group that you're undoing there, whose pictures are on the dolls?
Okay, we have the smallest doll being Kathleen Willey. Then we have Jennifer Flowers on the next one. And we have Paula Jones. And then we also go to, of course, Monica Lewinsky. And then the president.
How have those been selling?
They've sold great. I tell you, Christmas time, it seemed like all we were shipping out across the country and selling to visitors from throughout the world were the dolls and the toilet paper. A newer set that's out is the President's Inquisitors. And then we have Ken Starr and Henry Hyde. We have Linda Tripp, who's, as you know, in the media quite a bit now, Lucy Ann Goldberg, and Bob Barr.
And just behind that, I can see the Star Report in those rolls that you've mentioned several times. Tell us about the Star Report that you have.
Well, basically, this is a roll of toilet paper with the Star Report printed on it. It's got the title of the report and the mandate by the House for it to be, printed in the record. And then it follows by going into a few of the salacious paragraphs, more salacious paragraphs of the report, and repeats in a loop. By far our best-selling gift this Christmas, this past Christmas season.
In a general sense, over the years, how is the business of political memorabilia and Americana gone? Are there peaks and valleys, and if so, what causes them?
There certainly are peaks and valleys. But it seems as though, in the 6 years that I've worked for Political Americana, it's become more and more of a thing that the everyday American wants a little piece of history. And it does peak with election cycles. It's funny that as soon as an election is completed, we will see a surge in one party or another, or a drop in one party or the other. Our stores are basically divided left and right, Democrats on the left and Republicans on the right. One example that I can give as to these peaks and valleys is the extreme popularity of Limbaugh memorabilia and Republican memorabilia heading into the '94 midterm, and almost immediately after that midterm, Republicans were very satisfied with their victory in taking back the House and the Senate, and we saw a surge in Democratic memorabilia. Democrats were energized and said, hey, kind of got off their duff and said, hey, we got to do something about this, and that carried through the '96 election. And a lot of times memorabilia can be a good indication as to how elections are going to turn out. Our company runs a button poll every election, and we have been closer than the media polls in predicting the outcome of elections based on our button sales.
Just the sales of whoever the candidates are.
That's correct. That's correct.
Now, you have a lot of things in that store, a lot to show us in not much time. So while you're still at the counter there, what are some of the smaller items that you'd like to show for us?
Okay, I have some political buttons that I'd like to show you. These are some of the historical buttons that have become terribly, terribly popular with people. I mean, people want Truman buttons and Roosevelt buttons, and we have a full array of the Democratic and Republican candidates, successful and unsuccessful, because there are so many niches in collecting, in the collector's market. Some people just collect Republicans, some people collect just Democrats, some people collect Jugets, which are a button of both the presidential and vice presidential nominee, and some people just collect one of each, the Republican candidate and the Democratic candidate in the general elections.
How much do those buttons cost generally?
They can range anywhere from $4 to $100. Here we have this is a interesting piece. It's the centennial of Lincoln's birth, and it retails for $150. So as you can see, it can be you can start out small, and as your collection grows, you can get into some rather more expensive and more exclusive pieces.
I mentioned as we began this that this particular store we were at, Political Americana, is in Union Station, which is just a block from our offices. As our viewers can see the shot from our studio, you can see the entrance to Union Station, and only a couple of blocks from the Capitol. How does that affect your business, the fact that you're just down the street from the Capitol?
Well, it's pretty nice. Since we're right close to the Capitol, everybody who visits their representative generally walks through this area, and you see a lot of people. You get a great cross-section of Americans and a wonderful array of foreign visitors as well. Every day that the impeachment trial went on, we had visitors that had sat in the gallery and listened to the debate, and we had them. It gives you a great flavor being here in Union Station and on Capitol Hill.
Well, we have some questions from our viewers, and we're going to start with Beaumont, Texas. A question for Thane Fake, who is store manager for Political Americana. Texas, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I was calling to say about the little dolls, the memorabilia.
Uh-huh.
Who buys those things?
Well, it's interesting. We have a lot of customers who come in and have collections from Russia of the Russian leaders. The Russians do a wonderful set of all the presidents, and it's rather interesting. It's a wide cross-section of people who pick them up, and a lot of people are picking them up just to have a little piece of history with regards to this. They find them fun, and some of them find them fun, and some people just want to have a piece of history.
See, our next call, is it Georgia? Is it Dalton, Georgia? Caller, where are you from? I have a call. I tell you what, while we have this opportunity, on the wall in the back are some photographs and drawings and renderings and some autographs, I understand. Take us across the back wall.
Okay, one of our constant best-selling pieces is a traditional Kennedy for President Leadership for the 60s poster. The original poster market is excellent, and people come in and buy these to frame and put in their offices. Excellent FDR pieces are often purchased to be put in offices. This piece behind the poster, this is the Independence, Harry Truman's plane, the first Air Force One, and there's a boarding card and some stationery that are original from that aircraft. And Harry Truman has become more and more popular as the years go on. History has looked upon him very, very nicely, and so Harry Truman memorabilia is always in great demand. We even get into original autographs. This is a letter from a constituent, or letter from Franklin Roosevelt talking to a constituent about a top coat that was given to Franklin Roosevelt. And there's the original signature there on White House stationery. And so authentic autographs are also a large market. There are a lot of autograph collectors.
Now, something like that, before we leave that, that's a letter from FDR to an individual. How do you end up with the letter?
Well, we acquire a lot of our memorabilia through estate sales, and it's now become the norm. I mean, just about every day I have people calling and asking about how can I sell some of my collection. And what I usually recommend to people is what we do is we take an inventory of what they have, and there are sometimes cases where we tell people, hey, this is terribly valuable. You need to hold on to this for a few more years, or pass it down through generations. And I usually recommend that if you have duplicates, it's good to sell some of the duplicates off, simply because buttons and memorabilia can get damaged in attics and garages and basements, and just through moving them around and about. But I do recommend a lot of times that people take a button that maybe their grandmother worked with the FDR campaign, and have that framed with a historical picture or an etching, and have that as a piece of history in their home, because there is a story behind it, and that's what political memorabilia is all about. That it's telling an American story, and that's what I recommend for a lot of families, is to maintain that heritage and that story in their families' lives.
We'll look at a few more of those autographs after we hear from West Orange, New Jersey. New Jersey? Try.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I was just wondering, why is Roosevelt's picture up there more than the other ones, besides this picture?
Well, this just happens to be the left side of our store, and as I was mentioning earlier, our store is laid out, and both of our stores are laid out so that when you walk in, Democratic items are on the left and Republican items are on the right. And we typically do that so that when people come in and they look at, say, a Reagan button, they're in the company of Nixon and Goldwater and some of the other, and Wilkie and Dewey and Eisenhower. Our other side of the wall is all Republican. And
well, take us over to the other side and show us a signature or two or something that catches your eye.
Well, this is a fabulous piece. There's no, as far as it being a collector's piece, it's more for the Lincoln enthusiast. So we carry images that are less expensive and nice just for offices, like matted prints. And this is the value of perseverance. It shows all the many things that Lincoln had been defeated, all the elections and things before he was elected to the presidency. So that's a fabulous piece. But up here, this is a beautiful, beautiful piece. It's got an original picture of TR on his horse, and he's very famous for being on his horses and riding his horses, and those are original pictures, photographs from the period. And we have also a letter from Ronald Reagan when he was governor of California.
Washington, D.C. Good morning.
Good morning. I live here in the district, and I've been saving newspapers like the Washington Post in its entirety, not just the front section, and thinking of the future and maybe selling or whatever. But I have not opened these. I've kept them exactly as I found them in the box, and I'm curious, how do I take care of these?
Well, basically, having them kept someplace flat is very important. Putting them sealing them in plastic of some sort to keep the moisture off of them and keep them from being damaged by the dust and dirt of everyday wear. Having them in a nice secure box or keeping them flat would be my best recommendation.
Palmerton, Pennsylvania. Good morning.
Good morning. I think it'd be a good idea.
Pennsylvania, turn the volume down on your TV. That'll get rid of that echo that we have.
Okay, I got it down. I think it's a good idea to have some toilet paper made up with Bill and Hillary's picture on. Thank you.
Well, that's an interesting comment. Back during the Gulf War, there have been companies who've made toilet paper with Saddam Hussein's picture on the roll as well. So the idea is out there, and I'm sure there probably is somebody clever enough to probably be printing that now. It just hasn't reached our market anyway.
Chicago, good morning.
Good morning. I volunteered I petitioned for Ross Perot the first time he ran. And then I still had the petitions when he quit. So I kept them because I didn't know how anybody would feel about turning them in after he quit. And what kind of potential do you think something like that may have?
Well, I'm not sure. If it was never turned in, I'm not sure what the potential value in that would be. We do see some Perot memorabilia in the form of buttons for the most part. I haven't had very many posters or things of that nature, but they hold marginal value. They're not extremely valuable at this point, but they could be in the future. I'm not a Perot expert, so or that's not my niche. Individual campaigns that are third party, but that would be something that I would hold on to and maybe check through some of the internet sites out throughout the country. You could search under Perot, and maybe there's a collector out there that may be very interested in them.
Other than Ross Perot specifically, do you carry other third-party memorabilia?
We sure do, and I'm very proud to say that John Schmitz, a former congressman, in fact, Richard Nixon's congressman when he ran for president against Richard Nixon, used to, we carry quite a bit of his memorabilia, his buttons and things, and he lives, obviously here on the Hill, and, he's a very interesting character in history, and so that's one example. We have John Anderson buttons, some of the Prohibition Party buttons, Citizens Party, and so forth.
Another call from Washington, D.C. Good morning.
Hello?
Washington? Yes, go ahead, please.
Hello?
Go ahead.
I'm not from Washington. I'm from California.
Oh, well, whereabouts in California?
Oh, Palm Desert?
Well, go right ahead. You've slipped in ahead of Washington.
I guess so.
but really just want to know if there's a way we can order these through the mail.
Yes, there is a way you can order them. Our 800 number is 1-800-333-4555, and we have a website, hearthepeople.com. You can also obtain them from our stores, obviously. But yes, we mail order these nesting dolls all over the country and the world.
For someone who reached for a pencil about the time you started with all those numbers, the 800 number again is?
1-800-333-4555.
4555. And the webpage?
The webpage is hearthepeople.com.
H-E-A-R?
H-E-A-R.
One word? Is it Hear the People all typed as one word?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Hearthepeople.com.
.com. We'll give those again. Vidor, Texas. Good morning. Texas, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with y'all.
Go right ahead.
Okay, thanks. I was calling about the nest dolls, and I was wondering what the prices are on them.
Well, the prices for the Clinton set are $49.95, and the prices for the Inquisitor set, the new set that is out, is $69.95, and you can obtain the pair for $100.
Valparaiso, Indiana.
Hello?
Go right ahead, please.
Oh, yes. Okay, I wanted to ask you, I was given a thimble from Herbert Hoover's campaign, and it says on it, Hoover Home Happiness. Is it of any value?
It sure is. It sure is, and that's what's different about the older campaigns. They produced all kinds of wonderful, useful everyday items, thimbles. I've seen hair nets, Goldwater cologne, that they just don't produce anymore. Campaigns are spending a terrible amount of money on media, print, and radio ads and television. And so those items are really precious treasures of American history. And Hoover items do carry some value. I couldn't give you an exact value because conditions are important. But I would say you could probably check some of the area antique shops and maybe some of the websites throughout the country for Hoover collectors and come up with an absolute value on that. But it is very collectible.
What sense do you have of which administrations produced the most memorabilia but also produced the least?
Well, I think that it's safe to say that the Kennedy years were Kennedy-Nixon. They produced a lot of buttons, a lot of memorabilia, and Kennedy things are still very, very sought after. He is the most sought after, source of memorabilia, the Kennedy years. And then we have, on the Republican side, Ronald Reagan's memorabilia is selling a great deal, and he produced a good bit. As far as people who produced least, Harry Truman produced very few buttons in comparison, given the fact that during the war effort, a lot of metal was being used to produce the wartime gear that we needed to supply our troops abroad.
Manteca, California. Good morning.
Hello.
Go right ahead.
Good morning.
My name is Don Smith. I have a charcoal drawing of Theodore Roosevelt that I received from the cousin of a person who was in Secretary of Interior, and it's signed by the artist, dated about 1909, I think. I was just curious about the possible value of it.
Well, there again, without seeing a condition, but it is a very valuable piece. What I would recommend, and I don't know how you have it stored, but I would recommend having it framed in acid-free, with an acid-free matting and some plexiglass to keep out the ultraviolet rays, because maintaining the image is very important to the value of it, and also maintaining that artist's signature is very important to the value of it as well. But definitely hold on to it. It sounds like a fabulous piece, and I would proudly display that in my home if I had the story behind it that you do, sir.
Brewster, New York. Good morning.
Hi, this is Dorothy from Brewster. I was calling to find out. I've come across a autographed picture of Robert Kennedy, and it's in fabulous condition. We were going through an attic and came across this picture. And there's a lot of other political memorabilia that we've come across, like a thimble from the Calvin Coolidge campaign, and other things from the turn of the century. And I was wondering if I should hang on to it or what I should do.
I would definitely work on you know, storing them in a better environment. Attics and garages, as I was pointing out earlier, are notorious for doing damage to memorabilia. But I would definitely hold on to the Kennedy piece. Kennedy's signatures range in value, but a good ballpark is an original Kennedy signature can go for about $2,000.
Besides the campaign items that you have, understand also a display of things from various administrations that come from the White House.
Yes, yeah. White House memorabilia, in particular, when administrations pass, staff members have a lot of pieces from the White House. Some of the most coveted piece that anybody can get from a president is cufflinks. A pair of presidential cufflinks these days are very sought after. Reagan memorabilia from the Reagan administration is extremely sought after. His cufflinks are very, very well sought. Also, the signing pens from the various administrations. This is a Richard Nixon signing pen. They hold value. Even though this one might not have been used for signing a bill, people still love to have a piece of history from the Nixon administration. And Air Force One is also extremely popular. Every now and then we'll get a piece of Air Force One in, and as I was talking about the Truman piece on the back wall, but this is a ball cap from Air Force One. And this is an interesting piece. This is one of my favorite pieces. This is a phone from the Bush administration, and essentially during the first days of the Clinton administration, they had come in and took out the old phone lines and put in fiber optics. And these phones were actually taken out to be replaced by digital phones. And it says, not secure, do not use for classified or sensitive information. These phones actually made it to the auction block through the General Services Administration.
How many did you get?
We get a few here and there from collectors throughout the country. They were, from what I understand, purchased in large lots, and we every now and then just pick up one or two at a time through private collectors.
We have about 6 or 7 minutes left with Political Americana with the store manager Thane Fake. I'm going to ask you to think about something and come back to it. This will be a hard choice for you. If there is a particular item in the store that you're particularly fond of, I'll let you think about that as we hear from Las Vegas. Las Vegas?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
I have here a letter, and it's titled President-elect Ronald Reagan, and it's dated November the 10th, 1980, saying, Dear friend, just a note to express my gratitude for commitment to my campaign, your generosity in contributing to the California Republican Victory Fund was instrumental in providing phone banks, brochures, bumper strips, and a host of other campaign material for our effort in California. And it says, Nancy joins me in wishing you all of the best. Sincerely, Ronald Reagan. And it's signed by him. Is this of any value?
That depends on whether or not it is a auto pen signature or whether it is an original signature. Sometimes in the higher levels of campaigns, very personal letters will go out to high-level supporters. But in general, large campaigns like the Reagan effort, there were so many people involved, a lot of times they'll use auto pen letters. So the first thing that you need to do is determine whether or not that is a auto pen or a original signature. And that's pretty easy to do when you compare it. You put an auto pen next to it and you compare the signatures. And the way the pen drags, if it's lined up on the paper perfectly, sometimes that can be a clue. There are a few things to look for. But what I would do with that piece is, since there is some history there, I would frame it with a presidential portrait of Ronald Reagan.
There is a piece in the Outlook section of the Washington Post today that I want to read for you to get your thoughts on this. Sure. It's called In Good Company, Those Bits. It's by Tom Young, and he writes this: What better way to celebrate President's Day than by visiting sites dedicated to our former leaders? Every president since Herbert Hoover is commemorated with a museum or archive. Among the most curious of the curiosities on show and for sale are chunks of the Berlin Wall. At the Ronald Reagan Library in California, the Berlin Wall is more than chipped border concrete. It's an industry. Along with the exhibit of a 12-foot high decorated piece of the wall, the museum sells wall chunks, wall magnets, wall postcards, and keychains with a picture of Ron and Nancy floating near a piece of the wall. And there's a chart that goes along with this article that shows at the presidential libraries for Presidents Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, and Bush, they all have for sale pieces of the Berlin Wall. What do you make of that?
Well, I think it was a wonderful moment in history for the United States and for the Soviet Union and for Germany in particular. And I think that it's wonderful that they found a way to give a little bit back to the people throughout the world who lived through that period of time where nations were divided by a wall.
Hammond, Indiana. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Judy. I'm calling. We came across, it's a mirror for our wall, and it says Stroll's Beer, Democratic National Convention. And in the upper right-hand corner, it has President Kennedy, 1961 to 63. In the upper left-hand corner, it has Roosevelt, 1933 to 45. On the bottom, it has San Francisco, July 16th through the 19th, 1984. It has the Golden Gate Bridge, and it has a trolley car. In the middle of the mirror, it has a donkey with the American flag. And I thought it was unique. I haven't seen one of those. Whether it's worth anything, I have no idea.
It sounds wonderful. I've never seen one either, and usually that's a good sign. So I would definitely check around with some Kennedy collectors, and Kennedy collectors are some of the most prolific collectors out there. I would definitely hold on to that piece. It sounds beautiful.
Political Americana, their 800 number is 333-4555. The web page is Hear the People, one word, H-E-A-R, hearthepeople.com. The store manager at Union Station is Thane Fake. How did you get into this line of work, and what's your favorite piece in the store?
Well, it's funny. I actually got into this line of work. I came to Washington to find out what it was like for a Democratic Congress and a Democratic president to work together, and I basically fell into this position with the company. They had the contract for the first Clinton inaugural, and I've been with the company ever since. One of my favorite pieces that I'm fond of that we sell the 8.5 by 11 of, but we don't sell the large prints of, is the picture of President Clinton shopping here at the Union Station. He has a large button collection, and he actually was leaning on the counter in the store and looking at Republican buttons as he browsed around Christmas. He bought an FDR button. As I say, he has a wonderful, large collection, I'm sure, of political buttons, and has a great interest in politics all across, because as you can see, he's looking at our right-hand side of the store.
Nice camera work by G-Man Garney Gary on the camera this morning at Union Station. Last call, Hope, Idaho.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for the last call. I have a picture of Ronald and Nancy Reagan. It's odd size. It's probably about 9 inches by about 6 inches. I have mounted on a piece of wood with glossy all over to protect it. But it may not be worth anything to anybody else except me. Down on the bottom it says, "To me with appreciation and best wishes." It's signed Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan. It's for something I did with Air Force One as an air traffic controller. And they probably send out a couple hundred of these things a day, but it does have my name on it and signed by them.
That's interesting. I actually had the opportunity to intern in the correspondence division at the White House at one time, and it sounds to me as though it could be an original signature. If it's calligraphed by the White House calligrapher, then that's an indication that it may actually be an original signature. Many of the signed pieces that they send out of the White House are indeed auto pens, but not very many of those auto pens are inscribed to people. Usually they say something simply like best wishes, and then the signature, or it'll just have this signature. Even Socks the Cat has his paw print on some of the photos at the White House.
The Political American Portrait Gallery with a look at American presidents from a brand new exhibit there. In the meantime, have a good weekend.
Washington Journal is next. Our guests include